My name is Harper Reed. I'm 30 years old, a senior QA in Austin, Texas. I grew up in Katy, in a single-story house with an oak tree that shielded the front yard from the wind. My biological father died when I was 10, in an accident on a night shift. At the funeral, my mother, Diane, squeezed my shoulder and Nate's, her voice a low, firm whisper. From now on, I'm in the driver's seat. A few years later, Carl entered our lives. He could fix almost anything in the house, was steady at the stove, and spoke little but always at the right moment. Nate was given the role of the man of the house, and I had learned from a young age to make myself small, so everything would run smoothly. Tonight, rain pattered on the tin roof behind the Blue Bonnet Diner in Houston. I stood under the awning, hugging a tray of Costco supplies, sugar, flour, paper towels. The smell of fried oil and gravy mingled with the damp air. The phone in my jacket pocket vibrated. An AirDrop notification from Roy's iPhone. I tapped accept. The video played instantly. The scene was Sunday dinner at my cousin Roy's house. Diane, my mother, held a can of Miller Lite. Carl leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping a steady rhythm on the table. Nate was laughing, his shoulders shaking with the conversation around him. Harper is this family's walking ATM, my mother said with a smirk. 6 more payments to finish the lease to own, then we change the name, and the money still flows home. A chorus of ohs rose from the table, the clinking of forks and plates sounding like a round of applause. I was standing just one steamed-up glass door away from them. No one knew I was here. Inside the kitchen, knives were still chopping, and a pot of soup bubbled on the stove. Everything was being kept warm by the $1,800 a month I had been paying for 4 years. On the screen, my mother leaned over to pour more beer. I saw my own distorted reflection in the glass, a nameless shadow in the glow of the kitchen lights. The video hit the 19-second mark. My mother lowered her voice, but the microphone still caught it clearly. Remind her to pay the full 6 installments. After that, set it to autopay. Have Carl hold the merchant account. Their dry laughter and the clinking of glasses hit my chest like a physical blow. I tightened my grip on the tray, which suddenly felt as heavy as a sheet of steel. I set the tray down on the wet ground. I didn't knock. No, hi. Mom! No explanation. I turned and walked through the parking lot. The rain hit the back of my neck, as cold and sharp as a comma placed right at the nape. Inside the car, the wipers swished rhythmically, smearing the distant taillights into red streaks like cuts. I played the video again, not to confirm what I'd heard, but to accept it. This pain was real. I thought about the number 6. 6 more payments of $1,800. 6 more times pretending I didn't hear the words walking ATM. For the past 4 years, every time the money left my account, I'd told myself, it's okay. This is for family. But at 0019, family had told each other, set it to autopay. To them, I was just a setting in my own banking app. The phone vibrated again. A text from Roy, sent by mistake. It was a joke, sis. Don't take it to heart? A joke, I laughed, a dry, sandy sound. People call it a joke to avoid responsibility. The same way they called my 4 years of payments help to avoid calling it what it was, a sacrifice. I pulled into a rest stop on I-10 and turned off the engine. My hands rested on the steering wheel, cold and dry. I opened my banking app, tapped on the scheduled payment for the first of the month. Cancel. The system asked for confirmation. Yes. A tiny click sound echoed, the sound of a lock sliding perfectly into place. I took a screenshot, not to send to anyone, but to acknowledge to myself, I had just closed a door that should never have been opened in the first place. I started the car. Austin was still more than 2 hours away. On the highway, the rain fell steadily, a long, drawn-out soundtrack. I repeated a simple sentence in my head, the one that would be the beginning of everything that came next. Starting this month, I'm stopping the payments. It wasn't a threat, but rather a form of retaliation. It was the boundary between one person and another. If you call me a wallet, then this wallet is now closed. On the dashboard, the odometer ticked off the miles. With every mile, the weight on my chest lessened, receding into the passenger seat. The next morning, I would call Mr. Whitaker to confirm the 6 payments left, save a timeline image of the past 4 years, and if necessary, prepare a single letter with a clear principle. The truth is a shield. No endless emails. No shuffling of documents. Just enough anchors to keep the story from being twisted. The Welcome to Austin sign appeared through the rain. I parked the car, rested my forehead against the steering wheel, and closed my eyes for 5 seconds. When I opened them, I heard my own voice, quiet but clear, like a switch being flipped in the night. Tomorrow I choose me. I was born in Katy, in a single-story house with a sloping roof and an old oak tree in the front yard. After my father died, the rhythm of our house changed quickly. My mother started working double shifts. Nate learned to speak loudly, and I learned to get things done and then retreat to a corner. Carl appeared a few years later. He knew how to hold a pair of pliers, how to fix a squeaky hinge, and how to keep the flame steady on the stove. He didn't say much, but what he said was always right on time. The atmosphere in the house from then on carried the smell of fried onions and the sound of cooking spray. When I was older, I left Houston for Austin to study computer science at UT. I was good with things that had a process, such as specifications, test cases, and logs. After graduating, I got a QA job at a logistics company. The pay was enough. The studio apartment I rented overlooked a parking lot and had a 2-ring electric stove, a cast-iron skillet, and a kettle that clicked every morning. I didn't collect things. I collected things that ran correctly. Then COVID hit. The Blue Bonnet Diner, the eatery my mother and Carl had just opened, was faced with a decision: close or try to swim. They found a lease-to-own contract for the space and equipment, costing $1,800 per month, with the title to be theirs after 60 payments. Miss a single payment, and they'd lose everything. That night my mother called. The line crackled faintly, as if rain were seeping through. "I'm not sure we'll make it, Harper." "How much do you need to hold on?" $1,800. Regular as a clock. "I'll pay it." I didn't ask when she would pay me back. I heard her breath soften on the other end of the line, and that was enough. From April 2021, on the 1st of every month, $2,800 was deducted from my account and sent to Whitaker Properties. I created a small reminder in my Google Calendar called Keep the Diner. I canceled my Netflix subscription, put off replacing my car, and cut my own hair with kitchen scissors. At work, I asked to be moved to the early shift so that on weekends I could drive to Houston in time to help in the kitchen. On one visit, I arrived at the diner right at opening time. It was hot, the oil was fresh, and the stove was sizzling. Carl handed me an apron. "Grease the griddle. Table 3 wants eggs over easy." "Got it." Nate walked past the counter, smelling of cologne and cigarettes. "Feeling lucky today, I'm gonna trade." "Good. Are you helping out at the diner?" "I'm raising capital." "Right." I didn't argue. Everyone had their own way of contributing. His was in the future. Mine was on time. The diner recovered, slowly but surely. Yelp reviews praised the meatloaf and the crispy hash browns. The daily specials were written on a blackboard behind the counter in my mother's handwriting, which slanted slightly to the right. I hung a small bell on the back door. If someone forgot to lock it, the wind would make it chime, reminding them to check. My life in Austin shrank to fit inside neat boxes, a run in the morning, an early start at work, lunch from a container I'd packed, an afternoon focused on regression testing, a call home in the evening, and occasional weekend drives to Houston. I taught myself not to think too far ahead, just get through the next payment. The number on my calendar kept ticking down: 60, 59, 58. I marked the 42nd payment with a flower sticker. By then, the diner had enough customers to breathe on its own. I didn't tell my colleagues that I was making the payments. When they asked what I did on weekends, I'd just say, I help out at my family's diner. They'd smile. That's cool. I'd smile back. No one saw that helping out meant I was washing hot trays with my bare hands, my pinky finger blistered, and then going home to lie in an empty room, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. One Sunday night, my mother and I were closing out the register. The ballpoint pen slid over the sweat-stained receipts. Gas is high this month, she said. I'll transfer a little extra. Okay. It was just one short word, but it was enough for me to understand, yes, I was useful. There were times when things got rocky. The dishwasher broke. I called a repairman, paid with my card, and sent the invoice to the diner. A week later, Carl handed me a folder. Mark it, Harper paid. You don't have to pay me back, just leave it there. In my mind, those words stood like a milestone. I believed leave it there would lead to the day of the title transfer, a clean procedure, a certificate hung behind the counter, a family picture in front of the sign. I found a shop in Austin that made wooden signs. In my online shopping cart, I had already typed out Bluebonnet Diner since 2021 and saved it for later. At night, driving back to Austin, I'd often stop at the H-E-B near my place to buy a discounted box of berries and a few brown eggs. On the way home, I played a little game. I'd summarize my day in 3 short lines. Like code comments. Morning, ship build pass. Noon, call home, gas is high. Evening, add $200 more testing tomorrow. Once, Jennifer, the building's receptionist, joked, Harper, you're so resilient. I'm just good at meeting deadlines, I'd replied. She didn't ask more, and I didn't explain. This month, my Google Calendar showed just 6 red squares left, lined up like the final 6 steps of a staircase. I looked at that number and felt a warmth in my throat. Just 6 more steps. I had thought that when I reached the last one, I would take a week off, stand in the kitchen with Carl until I smelled of grease, and sleep on the extended bench behind the counter like I did as a child. The title transfer will take place in the afternoon. Hang the wooden sign, and a family picture will be taken in the evening. I had thought that. Until that rainy night in Houston, when an adult's joke that wasn't a joke was thrown straight through everything I had been building for 4 years. And the next morning, in Austin, I laid out 3 tasks for myself, as clear as 3 lines of a test script. Confirm with Mr. Whitaker, 6 installments left, and what are the conditions for the transfer? Save a 4-year timeline image, just one, enough to say it all. If needed, write a single letter to the right person. I am stopping the payments because of boundaries, not for revenge. The truth is a shield. I wasn't trying to win against anyone. I just wanted to look at my life and see a person, not a payment schedule. The next morning, I woke before the alarm. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and pulled up the transaction history. 48 squares, each marked $1-800, Whitaker Properties. I took a single screenshot and named it simply 48 Payments PNG. Looking at that image, I saw 4 years of my life captured in a single frame. I called the property owner. Whitaker Properties. Whitaker speaking. This is Harper Reed. I've been making the lease-to-own payments for the Bluebonnet Diner since April 2021. I'm calling to confirm there are 6 installments left. Correct? That's right. Once the 60th payment is made, we can process the assignment of the lease. In your records, who is listed on the application for that assignment? An application was submitted last week. The name is Carl Jenkins. My name isn't on it? No, but if there's a dispute, we'll place a hold on the transfer until we receive clear written instruction. Then please place a hold on it. I will be sending the necessary paperwork. I hung up and sat still for a moment. It felt as if someone had changed the nameplate on my front door without bothering to knock. I pulled my credit report just to be sure. Under a section titled Accounts Opened 2022, There was a strange entry. Blue Bonnet Diner LLC, business card, linked to my social security number. I clicked on it. The charges were all for kitchen equipment, with scattered cash withdrawals on weekends. I didn't screenshot everything. I just wrote a single line in my notebook. Business card linked to my SSN without my authorization. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus and set up a fraud alert. Once it was done, I turned on my phone's front-facing camera and spoke quietly to my reflection, as if to lock my own resolve in place. Stay calm, lead with the facts. My phone rang. It was my mother. What are you doing? I was confirming the terms with the landlord. Don't bring outsiders into this. This is a family matter. I've kept it in the family and paid for 4 years. Now I'm stopping. Just help us for 6 more months and then we'll figure it out. If we're going to figure out the ownership, we need a notarized agreement. And that business card in my name has to be canceled. You don't trust me? I trust paperwork. There were a few beats of silence on the other end, then a sharp intake of breath. Is that how you talk to your mother? I placed the phone down on the table. My heart was beating steadily. I didn't argue anymore. Everything had already fallen into place. I sent a text to Carl. You filed the transfer application in your name only? I run the kitchen, so I filed for the transfer. I paid for 4 years. Where is my name? You volunteered. As of this month, I'm no longer volunteering. His online status bubble disappeared. I turned back to my laptop and drafted a short email to have ready. I, Harper Reed, have paid 1/800 month towards the lease-to-own contract for the Blue Bonnet Diner since April 2021. 6 installments are remaining. I request an immediate hold on all transfer proceedings until a notarized agreement regarding ownership and reimbursement is established between all parties. Attached, 1 payment timeline image. I wouldn't attach dozens of files. 1 image was enough to convey understanding. The morning sun streamed onto my desk. I called Grace Barnes, a lawyer a friend had recommended, and scheduled a consultation. This is Grace. What can I help you with? I have a video that was sent to me by mistake. A 4-year payment timeline. Confirmation from the landlord that there are 6 payments left, and evidence of a business card linked to my SSN. I want to handle this properly, without a lot of noise. Good. Keep all your data, don't delete anything. I'll send a preservation letter. And remember, from now on, all communication should be in writing. Yes. The legal principle is simple. The truth is your fence. Don't get drawn into arguments. Let the documents do the talking. I hung up, printed a copy of the timeline, and placed it in a plastic sleeve. Next to it, my notebook with 3 simple lines. Whitaker. 6 payments left. Transfer application is Carl's name. Hold 2. Credit report. Found a business card with my SSN Tier 3. Froze credit plus scheduled lawyer. Just then, a text from Nate came through, short and sharp. You trying to burn the diner down? I replied, I'm not burning anything down. I'm just unplugging my own cord. He sent a single smirking emoji. I turned off the screen. At noon, Mr. Whitaker called back. I've noted the dispute hold. No assignment will be approved until there is a notarized agreement or a court order. Thank you. I opened the window to let the breeze in. The smell of the early afternoon sun settling on the sill. Some mornings, a whole life comes down to a few actions. Taking a picture, making a call, setting an appointment. I had done all 3. In the afternoon, I walked to the post office, bought a thicker file folder, and put 3 things inside. A color printout of the 48 payments PNG, the note from my call with Whitaker, and a blank sheet of paper with the title, Boundaries. I hadn't written anything on it yet, but the title alone made my hands tremble less. On my way back, Jennifer, the building's receptionist, met me in the lobby. Harper, you look different today. I just reset a few switches, she smiled. I smiled back. No one needed to know what those switches were. That evening, I sat at my desk and underlined a single sentence in my notebook. Day X. I chose paperwork over silence. Then I closed the notebook and turned off the light. In the darkness, the air conditioner hummed steadily. For the first time, the feeling of being used left my chest and stood outside my door. I locked the door and slid the bolt, both the door to my home and the door within me that had been open for far too long. That night, I cleared my desk, placing 3 things in the center: the 48 payment screenshot, the note confirming Whitaker's dispute hold, and a clean sheet of paper with the heading Boundaries. I opened my laptop and composed a single email. Subject: regarding my payments for the Bluebonnet. Diner Infor 2021 or present. 2. Diane, Carl, Nate CC, Mr. Whitaker, Landlord. Benevolence Committee. First Baptist Attachment. 1 image file. 48 payments PNG. The body of the email was short and clear. I am Harper Reed. I have been paying $1,800 per month for the lease-to-own arrangement of the Bluebonnet Diner since April 21. 6 installments remain. See attached. Image. I am requesting an immediate hold on any transfer of ownership until a notarized agreement is reached between all parties regarding ownership rights and the reimbursement of funds associated with my name effective next month. I am ceasing all payments. Please direct all future communication in writing. The truth is a shield. I scheduled it to be sent at 8:03 a.m. I had no intention of staying up all night waiting to press send. I wanted to sleep like a normal person, making a normal decision, resetting a switch in my own life. The phone rang. My mother. Don't send it. I've already scheduled it. This is a family matter, to be discussed behind closed doors. I've been behind closed doors and paying for 4 years. Opening the door is my decision now. Just help us for 6 more months, and then we'll split it. If we're going to split it, we need a notarized document. Either the title is transferred to me, or the ownership percentages are clearly defined, and everything using my SSN has to be canceled. You don't trust me? I trust paperwork. The line grew heavy like the air before a storm. Is that how you talk to your mother? If you choose to talk to me like a business owner, I will respond like the one who pays the bills. As your daughter, I'm still here, but I am not your wallet. I ended the call as her voice began to rise. A text message popped up. Delete the email. Don't embarrass me, I didn't reply. I called Carl. The sound of a football game blared in the background. This is Harper. I know. You filed the transfer application in your name only. I run the kitchen. I manage things. I paid for 4 years. Where is my name? You volunteered. As of next month, I'm no longer volunteering. You send that email and you're banned from the diner. I don't need to go there anymore. I placed the phone face down. No trembling, no tears. Just the precise, steady ticking of the wall clock. I opened a small document and typed a few lines for the next day, so if anyone asked, I could just read them. I am stopping the payments to maintain a boundary, not for revenge. I am choosing written agreements over pleading. If anyone calls this making a scene, please remember I was silent for 4 years. I printed a copy of the timeline and clipped it into the Boundaries folder. Before closing it, I added 2 minimum conditions: notarized agreement, transfer of title to me, or a co-ownership percentage, plus payment schedule to be handled by the owner, EX. Severing ties. Cancellation of all accounts/cards using my SSN plus confirmation of reimbursement for any funds withdrawn in my name. The Austin night wind seeped through the crack in the window, carrying the scent of dry, earthy soil. I turned off the light and got into bed. 8:03 was just a few hours away, enough time for me to sleep peacefully. Before closing my eyes, I sent a separate, brief email to Mr. Whitaker. I am writing to confirm that I will cease payments starting the next installment. Please continue to hold any transfer proceedings until a notarized agreement between the parties is presented. I am available to work with you directly as needed. His reply came as quickly as a nod, acknowledged. No transfer will be processed until this internal matter is resolved in writing. I placed my phone far from the bed, screen down. The room was dark and quiet, like a fresh page. I took a deep breath, counted to 3, and whispered, to no one but myself. Tomorrow the send button goes for me. Morning. The clock ticked over to 8:03. My phone buzzed gently, a sound as small as a latch clicking into place. No fireworks, no alarms, just a single email leaving my outbox, carrying 4 years I had packed into one image and one sentence of demarcation. At 8:03 a.m., the phone vibrated, a light sound like a lock setting. The email was gone. 5 minutes later, the screen began to light up with notifications. Are you crazy? Nate, delete the email now. You're embarrassing me. Diane, this is a family matter. Carl. I placed the phone face down, opened Slack, and answered a ticket as usual. At 8:27, an unknown caller made a call. Harper Reed? Yes? This is Angela Carter, treasurer of the Benevolence Fund at First Baptist. We received your email. The assistance application stated, no family support. Can you confirm you made payments for 4 years? Yes. $1,800 a month since April 2021. Thank you. The committee will meet this afternoon. At 8:41, Mr. Whitaker left a voicemail. The dispute hold has been placed. No transfer of ownership until there is a notarized agreement. At 9:06, my mother called. I answered. Delete the email. I won't. Are you trying to kill the diner? I'm stopping payment, not killing anything. I gave birth to you. If you're going to talk to me like a business owner, I will respond like the one who pays the bills. I hung up before her voice could break into the familiar refrains. At 9:30, Jennifer, the building's receptionist, sent a Slack message. Nate Reed is in the lobby, demanding to see you. I walked out. Nate stood under the white fluorescent lights, his hands clenched, his eyes red. You've shamed the entire family. Please leave the building. All communication in writing. You're burning down the diner, you're killing Mom. If you continue to stand here, security will escort you out. He grabbed my arm. 2 security guards stepped forward, separating us. Sir, please leave the premises immediately. Nate stepped back, pointing a finger at me. You'll regret this. I went back inside and requested an incident report, including the time, location, and nature of the threat. I sent the file to Grace Barnes. At 10:05, Grace called. I've seen it. We're sending a cease and desist letter immediately, prohibiting contact at your workplace. Prepare the documents to file for a TRO against Nate. Okay. Remember, from now on, only written communication. No arguing on the phone. At 11:12, my family's Facebook exploded. Diane posted, when your children betray you, the home is broken. The accompanying photo was of the handwritten specials board at the diner. The comments were divided. A neighbor wrote, I saw Harper paying. I feel for her. An account from the church. The Benevolence Fund is reviewing the matter. At 12:03, Angela called back. The committee has reviewed the documents. We acknowledge your support for the past 4 years. We will make a decision on the assistance application this afternoon. Thank you. At 1:20 p.m., an email from an unfamiliar lawyer. I represent Diane Reed. The dissemination of this email may constitute defamation and harassment. We demand a retraction and a public apology. 10 minutes later, Grace replied on my behalf, CCing everyone. My client has provided documented facts. In the United States, truth is an absolute defense against a claim of defamation. Please direct all future threats to our office. At 3:05, I filed the TRO online against Nate, including the security report, the lobby camera footage, and the content of his threat. I pressed submit. My hand didn't shake. Late in the afternoon, my boss stopped by my desk. Harper, it was a bit noisy this morning. Are you okay? I'm fine. I filed a report with security. If it's all right, I'd like to work remotely for a couple of days. Of course. Take care of your personal matters. At 5:17, Mr. Whitaker sent another message. I have received the letter from your attorney. To reiterate, I will not process any transfer of ownership without a notarized agreement. As evening fell, I took a walk around the block. The air in Austin was dry and warm. My phone vibrated with a text from my Aunt Carol. Diane was wrong, but sending that email might burn the bridge back. I don't want to go back to a place where I'm called an ATM. That night, Jennifer texted, "Security has flagged Nate's name. If he shows up, they will call the police." I replied with a thank you. At 9:02, the Benevolence Fund sent a single letter. After review, we are suspending assistance to Diane Carl for 24 months and requesting repayment of the funds received in accordance with our policy. The pastor has been notified. I saved the letter in a separate folder, naming it Fund Letter PDF, nothing more. Before sleeping, I opened my notebook and wrote 3 lines. Landlord, hold. Fund, suspended and repay. Nate, TRO filed. I closed the notebook. The room was quiet again. On the first day after the email, every arrow that had been shot at me had changed course. Either it got stuck in paperwork or stopped at the security desk. I breathed slowly. The complications were indeed messy, but this time the mess was outside of me. The next morning, I woke before the alarm. My inbox had 3 things, enough to change the game. 1. A short email from Whitaker. An application for transfer of ownership was filed last week in the name of Carl Jenkins, solely. Due to the dispute, we have placed a hold. He hadn't just left me out, he'd left my mother out too. 2. A notification from the POS Systems Payments Department, an automated monthly summary, had landed in my inbox. As of the 15th of last month, sales revenue has been directed to the personal bank account of Carl Jenkins. Meanwhile, the $1,800 payment from my account continued until I canceled it yesterday. Their income was flowing in, my money was flowing out. Everything had been prearranged. 3. A stray message in a family group chat. My mother had replied to an old thread that included me. Let Harper pay the last 6 installments, then set it to autopay. Have Carl hold the merchant account. Nate, don't make any withdrawals for a few weeks to keep things quiet. I sat up straight. I didn't need another piece of paper. These 3 anchors were enough. I called Grace. I have 3 things. Carl applied for the key. Transfer in his name only. The POS payouts have been diverted to Carl's personal. Account 3. A message saying, let her pay the last 6 installments, then set it to auto-pay. Good, Grace said. I'll send a preservation notice. They are prohibited from deleting emails, logs, or records. Legally, we have a case for unjust enrichment and can request a constructive trust to temporarily freeze the assets to prevent them from being moved. On the criminal side, there's identity theft and charity fraud. You stay calm. From now on, only written communication. The landlord? I will remind them. Do not notarize any transfer without a notarized agreement with you or a court order. The call ended. 5 minutes later, Grace's email arrived. A preservation notice CC'd to Diane, Carl, Nate, and Whitaker. The subject was concise. The content was succinct. Preserve all related data. Any deletion or alteration will be considered destruction of evidence. My phone lit up. Nate, stop digging. You redirected the payouts to your personal account. That's the diner's money. The diner's money doesn't flow into a personal account and get called legitimate. If you want to sue, then sue. I'm preparing to. I put the phone down. The screen was as flat and still as water on a windless day. I went to the FTC website to report the identity theft involving the business card using my SSN. Filling out each field was like following a test script: description, estimated date, parties involved. After submitting, the system provided a case number. I screenshotted it and filed it in my boundaries folder. At midday, Whitaker called directly. "We are not signing any assignment." Last week, Carl even sent a notice about arranging for a vendor to collect the equipment if payment is not made on time. I put a hold on that too. "Thank you. If needed, I will provide a court order." He paused for a beat, then said slowly, politely, "You keep very neat records." "Few people do. Just let the paperwork speak for itself." I said. Yes, but a thank you remained unspoken in my throat. The professionalism of a stranger sometimes feels as warm as a new blanket. In the early afternoon, the Benevolence Fund sent a single letter. After review, we are suspending assistance to Diane Carl for 24 months and requesting repayment of the funds received, in accordance with our policy. The pastor has been notified. I exhaled slowly. No joy, no satisfaction, just clarity. Grace texted again. 2 options for the meeting, if they want to resolve this. Option 1, immediate transfer of title, or a notarized co-ownership percentage. Reimbursement of all funds from accounts opened in my name, using my SSN. A written apology was sent to the church fund. I will not file a civil suit. Option 2, they do not sign. I will file a suit for unjust enrichment plus constructive trust, seeking a court order to freeze the assets. Simultaneously, I will let the police DA pursue the identity theft charity fraud charges. I printed out a sheet with the 2 options and clipped it behind the 48 payment screenshot. At the top of the page, I wrote the sentence I would say if I had to. Today, the ATM is closed. From here on, it's either a signature or a courtroom. The afternoon was as quiet as an intermission. I made tea, opened the window, and the dry, clean air of Austin filled the room. The phone rang again. "Diane, what do you want?" "I want clarity, a notarized transfer of title or ownership percentage, and the erasure of all traces of my SSN being used." "You're killing me by doing this." "I'm not killing anyone. I'm just setting a boundary." Silence on the other end. Then, a tiny voice, as if someone were talking to themselves. "I thought we were family." "Family isn't an ATM," I said. "If we're family, you'll sign." I ended the call. No heaviness, no relief. Just standing straight. The sunset painted the windowsill orange. I closed the file folder. On the cover, the word boundaries was dark, calm. In my head, everything was lined up like a log file. Landlord hold, fund suspended, preservation notice, case number. I suddenly remembered what Grace had said that morning. The midpoint isn't the time to cry. It's the time to change roles. I looked at the 48 payment screenshot one more time. 4 years contained in a single frame. I put it down, picked up a pen, and wrote another line under the title. Tomorrow. The table. 2 choices. 1 final word. I read the sentence to myself once, then let the pen rest. In the quiet room, I could hear the rhythm of my own breathing. No longer chasing the first of the month. No longer revolving around someone else's Sunday dinner table. For the first time, that rhythm was my own. The next morning, the Austin sun was harsh. I had just made coffee when my phone rang, Diane's name on the screen. I hesitated for 3 beats, then answered. "Come meet me. This afternoon. At Starlight Coffee on South Lamar." "Who will be there?" "Just me." Her voice was tired, deflated like a balloon. For the first time, I heard a slight tremble in it. I agreed, but I texted Grace the location, time, and, if anything feels off, I'm walking out immediately. The coffee shop was quiet at noon. The smell of espresso mingled with the scent of wood. I arrived 5 minutes early and chose a table near the door. Diane walked in right on time, wearing an old denim jacket. She sat down, her eyes not meeting mine. "I'm sorry." For what I said the other day? Thank you. But about the diner, just help for 6 more months, get us through this season, and then we'll figure it out. I placed the file folder on the table, opening it to the 2 pages, Option 1 and Option 2. I put a pen between them. If we're family, we sign. How can I sign this? She whispered. I'm not used to paperwork. I've gotten used to it over the past 4 years. The bell on the door chimed. Carl and Nate walked in, followed by the pastor and my Aunt Carol. I looked at my mother. She avoided my gaze. Her words, just me, shattered on the tile floor, breaking into 2 words, an ambush. Nate pulled out a chair and sat down hard. His chin jutted out. This is an intervention. You're destroying this family. I came here to meet with my mother alone. Well, she's here. The pastor placed a hand on the table, his voice gentle. Daughter, forgiveness is healing. The family has struggled because of the pandemic, because of inflation. If you have been a blessing, see it through to the end. Pastor, a blessing is not a recurring bank transfer. And the church's fund has already suspended their assistance, he faltered, his eyes darting to Diane. Her face flinched. Carl pushed my papers away slightly. You can retract the email. Then you pay the last 6 installments and we go back to normal. And what is normal? My name's still nowhere to be found. What do you need your name on it for? You don't have a husband to provide for, Nate sneered. The words hit the softest part of my chest, the part I had learned to ignore for years. I felt the blood drain from my ears, the sounds of the shop buzzing like a beehive. Diane didn't intervene. My Aunt Carol leaned in. Don't be so stubborn. People are laughing at our family. People laugh at behavior, not at the truth, I said, but my voice was hoarse. For a brief moment, I felt my hand wanting to pull back the papers, wanting to say, fine. Just 6 more months, just to make the room calm down, to let everyone exhale. I was so used to being the one to put out the fires. I looked at my mother. She was looking down, picking at the label of a water bottle as if peeling away an invisible stain. I took a deep breath and placed my finger on the pen. If you sign, I will take the day off work and we will go to a notary right now. If you don't sign, I am leaving this table. We will see each other in court, Nate scoffed. Who are you trying to scare? You think anyone will believe you over your own family? I don't need anyone to believe me, I said, closing the folder. I just need a signature. Or a verdict, the pastor cleared his throat. Let us pray for a moment. Sir, I am not praying for a vague agreement. I am praying for each person to take responsibility for their actions. I stood up. Diane's voice was a small, sharp stone. If you walk out that door, you no longer have a mother. The sentence landed heavily. I stood half in the sunlight, my shadow stretching across the floor. My back instinctively hunched a fraction of an inch from the familiar blow. You will always be my mother, whether you sign or not, I replied softly. But I am no longer your wallet. I turned to leave. Nate muttered something and Carl sighed in frustration. I walked to the door. As my hand touched the handle, I paused for just 1 second, waiting for the wave of regret to rise. It didn't. There was only a cool, empty space. The parking lot was flooded with sunlight. I got into my car, my heart pounding like someone who had just run across a bridge. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Harper, someone called the office saying you stole from your family. Security blocked the call. Your boss said to take a few more remote days. Another call, an unknown number. This is the Austin Police Department. We received a wellness check report that you were intending to harm yourself. Are you okay? I'm fine. This is a fabrication to harass me. I have a TRO against a family member. I can send you a copy immediately. Yes, please email it to us. We're just verifying. I sent the TRO and the FTC case number to the officer, adding a thank you for checking. The call ended. I leaned my head back against the seat, my eyes on the car's ceiling. There was a light sheen of sweat on my temples, but my hands were steady. A piece of paper was tucked under the windshield wiper, with one word scrawled on it, ATM. I pulled it out, folded it in half, and dropped it into the trash compartment on the car door. No need to take a picture. No need to post it. No need to give it any more words. The phone rang again. Grace, are you out? Yes. They set up an intervention. I declined. Good. They will escalate their attacks from the outside. Your job, social services, neighbors. You stick to one line. All communication in writing. Don't get pulled into anger. Anger is a trap. I remember. That evening I went home. The apartment complex was quiet. I placed the boundaries folder on the table and sat alone in the yellow glow of a lamp. A weight settled on my chest, a different kind of exhaustion, the fatigue of no longer running. I let it sit there, neither pushing it away nor embracing it. My mother sent a long text. I didn't open it. I wrote in my notebook slowly and deliberately. They said if I leave, I lose a mother. The truth, if I stay, I lose myself. I put the pen down. Outside, the night wind swept through the trees. A distant car sounded like a wave. I took a deep breath and said very quietly, as if to the 10-year-old girl standing under the oak tree all those years ago. It's okay. We're standing straight. Our feet are on the ground. That afternoon, the small meeting room at Whitaker Properties was open. A wooden table, 4 chairs. Mr. Whitaker sat at the head of the table, a glass pitcher of water in front of him. On his left was Grace, my lawyer, with a thin folder. On his right, Diane and Carl. Nate stood against the wall, his arms crossed. Whitaker looked around, his voice as straight as a ruler. The purpose of this meeting is to finalize this. Either there is a notarized agreement, or I maintain the dispute hold until a court decides. A reminder of the lease-to-own terms. There are 6 installments left. If they are not paid, I have the right to lock the premises under Texas commercial law. Grace pushed 2 sheets of paper toward them, each just 1 page long. Option 1. All parties sign a transfer chart novation agreement. As of today, Harper is the sole beneficiary of the remaining interest. The 48 installments she has already paid are acknowledged. The remaining 6, if not paid by you, are no longer her concern. The merchant account reverts to a proper business account. Everything using Harper's SSN is canceled, and a letter of apology is sent to the church fund. With that, the dispute is over. Option 2. You do not sign. We will file a civil suit for constructive trust and unjust enrichment, and simultaneously forward the file for identity theft and charity fraud. The landlord will continue to hold, and the diner's revenue is stalled. Diane looked at the paper, then up at me. We're not used to this kind of paperwork. Nate jutted out his chin. You think you can threaten us into signing? The 48 payments were voluntary, Whitaker interjected, his voice still even. I am only concerned with one thing. Who is the person I can sign with and receive timely payments from? For the past 4 years, that name has been Harper Reed. If you do not agree to this, I will terminate the transfer process for everyone until a verdict is reached. Your diner will be dead in the water. The room was silent. The air conditioner gave a short, hiccuping sound. I turned a pen in my hand, noticing the sweat on my palm had dried some time ago. Carl looked directly at me, for the first time without a trace of insolence. What do you really want? I put the pen down and spoke slowly, clearly. I want my name to be associated with the money I paid. I will not pay another cent to remain anonymous. Either you sign today or we meet in court. And regardless of the option, the ATM is closed. Nate scoffed. Diane clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. Carl shifted in his chair, carefully reading the first line. Then his eyes moved to Whitaker. If we sign, do you agree, as the landlord? Whitaker nodded without hesitation. I will sign the novation agreement the moment the notarized documents are on my desk. I will officially record the 48 payments made by Harper in the file. From that point on, I will work only with her. It's clear. Diane looked around, but the pastor was not there to save her. Nate whispered, "Don't sign. Let her pay the last 6." I looked directly at Nate. "There are no more installments from me." Grace pushed the pen toward them, her fingers tapping a gentle rhythm. "Decide now. Out there, the Benevolence Fund has suspended assistance and is demanding repayment. The landlord has a hold, and the court accepts filings very quickly if needed. This room is the only door that doesn't lead to handcuffs." The silence was as heavy as a sheet of glass. Then Carl exhaled, a long, defeated breath. "Give me the pen." He signed his name on the first line. The ink soaked into the paper, dark and steady. Diane looked at his signature as if it were a pair of scissors cutting through an anchor line. Then she signed too, her handwriting breaking in the middle. Nate slammed his hand on the table and shot up. "You're crazy! You both sold out." Whitaker picked up his phone. "If you cause another disturbance in my building, I will call security." Nate froze, swallowing his words. He kicked lightly at the table leg, then pushed the door open and walked out. Grace passed them the second document, a memorandum for the church fund, an apology, a commitment to repay, a forfeiture of future assistance. Diane signed it like a person with no strength left. Whitaker stood up and extended his hand to me. "Congratulations, Miss Reed. I'll have a notary sent over immediately. Once that's done today, I will send you the novation agreement to sign. Starting next month, the money will come from you and go to me, no one else in between." I shook his hand. My palm was growing warm. Diane spoke softly, as if afraid to hear herself. "Can you keep me in your—" I looked at her, neither hard nor soft. I said slowly, "I'm not keeping anyone. I'm just keeping a boundary. If you want to step across that boundary, the door is open. If not, that's okay too." She lowered her head. Carl stood up and took a step back. No one said anything more. Outside of Whitaker Properties, the Texas sun beat down on the pavement in hot slices. I stood for a minute in the shade of a tree, the file folder pressed against my side. My phone buzzed, a short text from Grace. "Good. Notary is on the way." I closed my eyes and breathed from my stomach. There were no fireworks inside, just quiet. I opened my eyes and looked into the distance. Gleaming tin roofs, a white cloud suspended in a deep blue sky. I whispered the words I had held on to since that rainy day, now transformed into a final statement. Today, the ATM is closed. From here on, it's just the signature. Later that day, a notary came to Whitaker's office. The pen glided over the required lines. The stamp came down with a firm thud, like a deadbolt sliding into place. The novation agreement took effect immediately. Starting next month, the money would be transferred directly from me to Whitaker, with no intermediaries. I was no longer someone else's payment schedule. I would pay the remaining 6 installments, but this time, I was paying for my own asset. The following week, I drove to Houston early and opened the back door of the Blue Bonnet Diner. The smell of butter, fried onions, and the hum of the exhaust fan were the same. I conducted a walkthrough, changing the grease trap filters, checking the fire extinguishers, and updating the after-hours cleaning schedule. Carl was at the stove, his gaze unfamiliar. Diane stood at the counter, a notebook folded in half. "Are you going to change a lot of things?" she asked softly. "I'll change what needs changing. The rest I'll let stand on its own." I didn't fire anyone. I posted a small notice in the office. Everything on one line, clear, scheduled, signed. I hired a part-time accountant, switched the merchant account back to a proper business account, and locked down everything that had ever been linked to my SSN. The Benevolence Fund sent a letter confirming that they had received Diane and Carl's repayment plan. They stopped referring to me as the ungrateful child in their prayers. I thanked them with a single letter. Nate remained silent. The TRO was still in effect. My company reported that all anonymous calls had been blocked. I neither forgave nor pursued. I just kept the doors as they needed to be kept. One quiet afternoon, I stood behind the counter, looking at the wooden sign I had ordered from Austin. Blue Bonnet Diner, since 2021. In the bottom right corner, I had engraved a smaller line, one only I could read, Paid in Full, 2026. I took a picture and saved it in the Boundaries folder. I didn't post it anywhere. I didn't need any likes. On Saturday, my mother's regular, a garbage truck driver, came in for his usual meal. He put down his fork and nudged me. "Daughter, the hash browns are consistently crispy these days." "Yes, sir. I changed the oil schedule." "Good. Keep this place respectable." I smiled. Respectable. The word shone like newly polished stainless steel. In Austin, things also returned to their rhythm. I still worked the early QA shift, still ate lunch from a container, and occasionally printed a black and white photo to hang in my kitchen. Jennifer smiled. "Harper, you seem lighter these days. Not less work. Just carrying the right weight." Grace sent an email update. The bank had canceled the business card linked to my SSN and closed the identity theft file. Noting charges reversed, closed. I replied, "Thank you. That's enough." I didn't demand any more victories. Some things are a victory only when they are lost. The habit of silence. The tiny chair I had squeezed myself into for so many years. The day I received the certificate for completing the 60 installments, Whitaker handed me the thick blue-bordered paper. He shook my hand again, his words still concise. "From now on, if anyone asks who the owner is, I'll give them one name." Yes, sir. I drove to the diner and opened up 5 minutes early. The Houston sunlight poured onto the stainless steel griddle. I placed the certificate on a shelf, right under the small camera I had installed myself. No applause. No one called to congratulate me. I took a marker and drew a line through an item in my notebook. Done. Then I turned to a new page. Diane arrived later than usual. She looked at the certificate, her hand brushing the edge of the table to steady herself. I'm sorry for that day. And for the before. I hear you. I can't promise I'll fix everything, but I can promise to ask before I speak. Will you let me learn again? I nodded. No promises, no erasing the past. I just pulled out a high stool and set down 2 glasses of water. She sat, not touching me, but not leaving either. We watched as a customer came to table 2, an elderly couple ordering meatloaf and biscuits. I heard the clink of a knife on a plate, smelled the faint scent of melting butter, and realized that some things, when they are in their proper place, find their own quiet. That night I returned to Austin. The air was dry. On my kitchen counter was a spare wooden sign I had ordered, just in case the first one got damaged. I opened my laptop and wrote a short post on a new personal blog. I am not telling this story to win. I am telling it to give things their proper names: sacrifice, boundaries, responsibility. If you hear a loved one calling you a walking ATM, please remember, ATMs have lids. I hit publish and closed the laptop. A year later, the diner was running smoothly. The books were clean and the staff was paid on time. I no longer had to work the kitchen every weekend. I switched to 2 days a month just to remember the smell of butter. Carl worked his shifts more quietly and punctually. Nate remained distant. Diane spoke less loudly. Sometimes she would text me, "Have you eaten?" with the awkwardness of someone relearning an old language. One evening, I was cleaning my apartment. In the closet, the boundaries box sat untouched. A photo of 48 payments, a letter from the fund, a novation agreement. I added one more thing to it, a picture of my mother smiling under the new sign. I closed the lid and placed it on a high shelf, where I kept the things that were enough. Before sleeping, I sent a text to myself in my notes app. Family isn't just about opening the door. It's about knowing when to close it and when to open it again. The light went out. The city breathed steadily. In the darkness between breaths, one final quiet image closed the story. The back door of the diner, the small bell I had hung long ago, chiming softly as the wind passed through. It asked me a question that needed no answer. If one day the person who once called you a wallet knocks on your door, empty-handed, asking for nothing but a place to sit, will you open it? Or will you lock it one more time?